This is Land of Havilah, Amos 9. This last chapter of the book is a magnificent proclamation that although God's about to devastate Israel, He'll reestablish them. Verse 1. I saw the Lord standing beside the altar, and He said, Strike the tops of the pillars, that the thresholds may shake, and break them in pieces on the head of all of them, and I'll kill the last of them with the sword. There shall not one of them flee away, and there shall not one of them escape. Though they dig into Sheol, there my hand will take them, and though they climb up to heaven, there I will bring them down. Though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out there. And though they be hidden from my sight in the bottom of the sea, there I will command the serpent, and it will bite them. Though they go into captivity before their enemies, there I will command the sword, and it will kill them. I will set my eyes on them for evil and not for good. For the Lord, Yahweh of armies, is He who touches the land, and it melts, and all who dwell in it will mourn, and it will rise up wholly like the river, and will sink again like the river of Egypt. It is He who builds His rooms in the heavens, and has founded His vault on the earth, He who calls for the waters of the sea, and pours them out on the surface of the earth. Yahweh is His name. Are you not like the children of the Ethiopians to me, children of Israel, says Yahweh? Haven't I brought up Israel out of the land of Egypt, and the Philistines from Caphtor, and the Syrians from Kir? Behold, the eyes of the Lord are on the sinful kingdom, and I'll destroy it from off the surface of the earth, except that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, says Yahweh. For behold, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all the nations, as grain is sifted in a sieve, yet not the least kernel will fall on the earth. All the sinners of my people will die by the sword, who say, Evil won't overtake nor meet us. In verse 1, Amos saw the Lord standing beside the altar. It was the altar at the temple in Jerusalem because that's the altar. It's the only altar that needs no further description. Standing there, God said, Strike the pillars. Those would be the only two pillars there, the two massive bronze ones that stood on the porch. He said, Strike the pillars that the thresholds may shake, and break them in pieces on the head of all of them. It's a picture of God striking His temple and making it collapse on them, killing them. He says He'll kill the last of them with the sword, and there shall not one of them escape. He doesn't say He'll kill the last of Israel. He says the last of them, meaning each and every one of them who has been marked for destruction. In verses 2 and 3, no matter where they might run, He'll find them and lay hands on them, whether they dig into Sheol below or climb into heaven above, whether they hide on the top of Mount Carmel or the bottom of the sea. No one can hide from Yahweh. In verse 4, though they might survive the coming war and be taken captive, they shouldn't presume they're safe, because they're in that foreign land where they're held captive. Yahweh will command the sword to kill them. He'll set His eyes on them for evil and not good. In verse 5, He touches the land and it melts. All who dwell in it will mourn. This disaster will take Israel like a flood, as when the Nile River rises up and sinks back down again. In verse 7, let not Israel think their special status among the nations will save them. Yahweh says, Are you not to me like the Ethiopians, the Philistines, and the Syrians? Yes, I brought you out of Egypt to live in this land, but didn't I also bring the Philistines from Caphtor to live in their land, and the Syrians from Kir to live in theirs? In verse 8, Yahweh's eyes are on the sinful kingdom of Israel. He'll destroy it from the surface of the earth. He's specific in His language that He'll destroy the kingdom of Israel, yes, but He didn't say He'll destroy Israel from the surface of the earth. I'll not utterly destroy Jacob, He says. In verse 9, if He won't destroy them utterly, obviously He'll save some. He'll sift them as grain in a sieve, yet not one kernel will fall to the earth. To sift is to separate the good from the bad. The wheat goes to the barn and the chaff is burned. Matthew 3:12. Yahweh will track everyone individually and treat everyone individually. That's what the sifting is about. In verse 10, quote, All the sinners of my people will die by the sword, who say, Evil won't overtake nor meet us. It's an important point in evangelism that a lot of people assume they'll be okay, But Yahweh says, all the sinners of my people will die by the sword who say evil won't overtake us. Those are the 10 verses that Israel is due for destruction, with some exceptions among them, of course. Now the 5 verses that close out the book about future restoration. Verse 11. In that day I will raise up the tent of David who is fallen, and close up its breaches, and I will raise up its ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all the nations who are called by my name, says Yahweh, who does this. Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the one treading grapes him who sows seed, and sweet wine will drip from the mountains and flow from the hills. I will bring my people Israel back from captivity, and they will rebuild the ruined cities and inhabit them, and they will plant vineyards and drink wine from them. They shall also make gardens and eat their fruit. I will plant them on their land, and they will no more be plucked up out of their land which I have given them, says Yahweh your God. Comment verses 11 and 12 mention the tent of David, also called the tabernacle of David. In the book of Acts, the Apostle James gave his own version of verses 11 and 12. He was mostly quoting, but he altered the quote somewhat and made it more understandable. Amos's version is, in that day I will raise up the tent of David who is fallen, and close up its breaches, and I'll raise up its ruins, and I'll build it, as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all the nations who are called by my name. Now here's James' version from Acts 15, verse 16, which is a little more understandable. Quote, after these days I will return, and let's stop right there. What does return mean? I will return. It might mean Jesus will return, which obviously he will, or it might mean God will change course or initiate a new work. After these days I will return. And going on from there, I will again build the tabernacle of David. And let's stop there again. The original tabernacle of David is the tent David built for the ark. It housed the presence of God in Jerusalem. And people came there to David's tent to seek Yahweh. After that, they built the temple and moved the ark from David's tabernacle to the temple, so the people came there. But in verse 1 of this chapter, there's about to be a problem because God's about to destroy the temple in Jerusalem. Then what should the world do? The temple was supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations, 1 Kings 8, 41-43. But with David's tabernacle gone and the temple gone, then what? Where do the nations go then? Let's start again with James' version and go further this time. Quote, after these things I will return. I'll again build the tabernacle of David, which has fallen. I'll again build its ruins. I'll set it up, that the rest of men may seek after the Lord. And let's stop there. The tabernacle of David has fallen. If we go to Jerusalem, we won't find it. Solomon's temple has fallen. We won't find that either. But what houses the presence of the Lord now? Where do we go to find the presence of the Lord? We're David's tabernacle now. When we receive the Lord, he comes in. We're the temple. We house the presence of God. Quote, don't you know that you are a temple of God and that God's Spirit lives in you? 1 Corinthians 3:16. Now giving James' full version of it, after these things I will return. I'll again build the tabernacle of David, which is fallen. I'll again build its ruins. I'll set it up that the rest of men may seek after the Lord, all the Gentiles who are called by my name, says the Lord, who does all these things. End quote. So James is focusing on God setting up a situation so that all men, including Gentiles, can seek him. He associates Gentiles, particularly with the tabernacle of David, because Amos makes that association, and because the tabernacle of David was a completely new work outside the law of Moses. The original tabernacle of Moses was built strictly according to the law. God said to Moses, build the tabernacle and all the furniture exactly the way I show you. Exodus 25:9. So that's the way Moses built it. And on top of God saying it should be built just a certain way, God added layer upon layer of law to govern everything about the tabernacle. Every activity was very tightly prescripted, and Moses dare not deviate from any of it. But then David came along. He threw up a tent of no particular description, put the ark in it, and boom, he had a tabernacle of the Lord completely outside the law. and Yahweh allowed it. Moses must have been turning over in his grave. How did David get to be so spontaneous? He didn't even know how to carry the ark at first, and Moses was bound by the law. God has made us tabernacles of David. We asked him respectfully to come to inhabit us, not having any idea what we were doing, not knowing anything about the law of Moses or halfway knowing anything about the holiness of God. And boom, God came in and inhabited us. It's only by grace we're not dead yet, the way we've mishandled everything having to do with God, but by his grace he has inhabited us. But there's more to it, that in the end times, Jesus, the descendant of David, will return, reestablish a proper temple on Zion, and all the nations will come to it. That'll be a tabernacle of David too, since Jesus is a descendant of David. Quote, "It shall happen in the latter days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be raised above the hills, and all nations shall flow to it." Isaiah 2:2. That house of Yahweh will be a tabernacle of David, and in that David's descendant, Jesus, will build it. In verse 12, in Amos's original version of it, Israel will possess the remnant of Edom and all the nations who are called by Yahweh's name, end quote. Edom is Israel's twin and counterpart who represents the Gentiles. Gentiles who are called by Yahweh's name, Edomites or whoever they might be, will be grafted into Israel. Thus Israel will possess them, so to speak. In verse 13, many will be added to Israel. There will be a great harvest of souls. The plowman shall overtake the reaper, and the one treading grapes him who sows seed, and so forth. This isn't an abrupt change of subject from spiritual things to agriculture. It's still on the subject of building Israel up in that day. There will be an abundant harvest of souls. The population of Israel will explode, Israel being all those who believe, Jew and Gentile. In verse 14, I'll bring my people Israel back from captivity, and they'll rebuild the ruined cities and inhabit them, and they'll plant vineyards and drink from them. This is literal and figurative. Israelites will go beyond Damascus into captivity, as Yahweh said in chapter 5. This will be over about a 150-year period. The northern kingdom will go out first in the 730s and 720s, and the southern kingdom afterwards from about 605 to 586. Then they'll all be free to go home when Cyrus makes his proclamation in 539. This will be one of the fulfillments of verse 14, that God will bring them back from captivity to rebuild the cities, reestablish agriculture, and so on. And this verse is figurative, that anytime any of us is saved or delivered from evil in any way, we're released from captivity and our lives become fruitful. And then it'll be literal again in the end times, in the millennium, that God will gather his people to the land, they'll establish themselves, and they'll be fruitful. In verse 15, I'll plant them on their land, and they'll no more be plucked up out of their land which I have given them, says Yahweh your God, end of quote, and end of book. This is Yahweh finally accomplishing for Israel what he originally intended. Yes, for the time being, Israel will be destroyed, go into captivity, and it'll look like God tried to accomplish a grand work with Israel and wound up failing. But in that day, God will plant them on their land, and they'll be no more plucked up. They'll be firmly established in all the glory that God intended for them, and permanently they will no more be plucked up. That's the book of Amos. Please find our other titles at Land of Havilah, either by podcast, YouTube, or landofhavilah.net.